Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. It is Thrive O'Clock with Rachelle and Mel. We got a special guest today, and I'm going to let Rachelle tell you a little bit about our guest today. And thank you for joining in. And before you do that, I'm sorry, I just got a little ahead of myself, Rachelle. Please, Phil, tell us how your week has been. We want to know what are some reflections that you have. We want to hear all about it. So please share with us. And Rachelle, tell us about our special guest today.
Yeah, so excited to have another special guest joining us this week. Today we have Jay Billy joining us to chat about all things education. And for anybody that doesn't know Jay Billy, you definitely need to connect with him on Twitter, connect with him here today in our community. So welcome, Jay Billy.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me, guys. Thank you very, very much. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, and it's great to meet you, Jay, in person. I love that, in person. This is how it's going to be.
Yes. It will happen someday, I'm sure.
Yes, and so you guys just started this week, correct? School?
Just last week. This is our second weekend. So, yep.
So tell us how school's been going.
Well, we're fully remote still. So we have a plan for coming in, hopefully beginning of October with some of our more at-risk learners, and then kind of building on that. But we're fully remote, and it's been really hard. It's the hardest thing I've ever done, and for me, I get my energy from the kids every day, and so not being knee deep in kids is it's harder. I've enjoyed my staff has done a great job, really. Connecting and doing amazing things with kids, but it's hard to see how burnt they are at the end of the day of looking at a screen, and it's hard. It's been like I'm more tired, and I know the beginning of the year always is like that anyway. You're always exhausted, but it just seems like I'm even more tired this way, doing it this way. Like I said, I get energy from the kids, and I don't get to have as much of that. So.
Wow.
But it's going. The staff is really adjusted. They're working hard with the lessons. They're doing really, really well. And I think for the most part, I'm in elementary school, so the connections piece just takes a little bit longer. It just really takes a little bit longer with these kids. So.
Yeah.
And go ahead, Rachelle. I always cut you off.
Oh no! I was just going to say that it is really difficult. But the one thing back to you, Melody, was saying I get to meet in this space. I'm just so thankful that we do have this space to actually interact and have conversations and talk to each other, because without this, imagining years ago when we were in school, if the same thing was happening, how would we facilitate those social interactions? And I know we're all like Zoom fatigue, Google Meet fatigue and everything, but it's still, even after being online all day, I'm still so excited to be able to be here with you and talk to you, knowing that, Jay's a lot closer to me than you are. You're the whole way across to Alaska, but I still feel connected to you. And it's so strange how that happens. Like, I haven't really gone a lot of places. And so my idea, like when I think about, well, how much time has passed? And I realize, oh my goodness, it's been 6 months since I've been in a grocery store. It doesn't feel like that long, but that's my last memory of it. And the same thing with school. So there's interaction. So Melody, I haven't technically seen you since we were in Nashville, but I talk to you so often and I still feel so connected to you. And I think that's what's so important about these spaces and how we can leverage it. It's not ideal if we can't be in our classrooms, but being able to have interactions and see each other, hear each other really does make a difference. I know it does for me, but just had to throw that in there.
Yeah, no, I love it. And I enjoy this too. I love Thrive O'Clock. We're still thriving. We're surviving and we're thriving. And I just want to give a shout out to Linnell and Bobby, who both said, "Hey, Jay." I don't know if you saw that, but yeah. Good. Yeah. And now we're friends. Now I get to call you my friend also.
That's right.
And actually, Rachelle, what you're saying, I actually feel like I found my voice through this pandemic stuff. Like, it's been great for me in the aspect of reaching out to people, because I don't know, just being in Alaska, not having a lot of people that I know close to me. I do have some friends, y'all. It's really surprising. I do have some friends here. But as being able to reach out is something that has been helping me. What about you, Jay? What's been helping you to get through all of this?
Well, like I said, the opportunities that I do get to jump into the Zoom classrooms and see the kids and cause a little havoc, wreak a little havoc on what the teachers are trying to get done. I mean, that's been really good. It was a long summer. Rachelle knows too. It's like usually my summers are spent going to conferences and getting around and seeing lots of people, and I get energy from that too. I get energy from those in between moments at conferences when you get to have real deep discussions with people about what's going on, and there wasn't any of that this summer. So I missed a lot. Last summer I traveled a lot, and this summer I pretty much stayed here and fiddled with schedules that never came about, and so but like since school started 2 weeks ago, been busy, first week handing out Chromebooks and making sure every kid was connected. This week fixing Chromebooks and making sure every kid was connected. Dealing with families that are struggling with balancing their work and supporting their kids at home and things like that. It's been frustrating for them and hard for us because we're trying to meet every family where they need to be, and it's hard to do that when teachers are trying to teach. So it's they want to give the kids their all, but they want to be very careful, and some parents want more and some want less, and some need more and some need less. Like I said, our kindergartners and first graders just need to connect, and they need a lot more time for that. So yeah, but that's kind of what we've been doing, and what I'm excited about, but also I'm looking forward to the day that we all come back. I keep telling them, when that day comes, there probably won't be any learning, but it will be one big party. 400 kids, just 400 kids dancing. So.
Well, you already said you like to cause havoc, so that would be good, right? Just a little extra havoc.
I usually do. I usually do when and that's kind of what I do. I jump in and out of their Zoom classrooms, and try not to be too disruptive, but sneak in and just see what they're doing and get to read stories to them and things like that. So that's been really good too, And then like we have a whole new group of kindergartners who I've never really met in person. So they're used to seeing me outside dancing around when their buses pull up, and I haven't had those chance to interact yet. So I'm hoping for that, but they still get to see a little bit of it.
Yeah. So. I'm going to ask you a little bit. I know we've gotten deep. And so as we reflect on this week, I just want to ask you, how people say like when they're going through something life-threatening and their whole perspective on life changes and what's important. Well, now that you've been leading through like the end of last year and now this, what has changed for you and made your perspective, like what is the most important thing for you right now as a leader during this time?
Well, yeah, that's a good one.
That's a great question.
That is a great question. And I say this to the teachers too. What you value in your brick and mortar classroom, you should value in your Zoom classroom. And so what I value is really those relationships and the connections. So I've been trying to keep those going and keep those up and keep supporting the teachers, my teachers, reaching out to them, thanking them. I value the work that they do, and I want to let them know that it's valued, the work they've done through the summer to learn these new platforms and learn, gain new perspectives and new ideas. I try to make sure that our new staff, I actually have 5 new staff this year that are starting with remote classrooms that meeting the kids and things like that. So I try to check in on them and make sure they're okay. Those are the kind of things I would do if they were here. It's not as easy walking into their classroom, walking in the door and just asking them at the end of the day, or just checking on them, during their prep during the day. It's not as easy anymore, but I try to still do those things. I think that's part of making our school a place where not only the kids want to be, but the staff are excited to be and the families are excited to be. The same thing with families, making phone calls. I did a lot of that this summer. I haven't, since school started, I haven't had as much time, but just calling and checking in on some of our at-risk families, making sure they had things they needed. We spent a lot of time delivering food and doing those kind of things, making sure that everybody just kind of knows that our school is a place, whether they're here or not, is a place where we're here for them. We're here for them. So that's been important to me.
Yeah, it's tough and very time consuming. Like there wasn't a summer break because the needs don't just end at the end of the school year for students and families. And so I don't know that has ever been more evident than it has been this past year. I mean, for some people, yes, but that is definitely something that came to light more so at the end of the last school year of what the needs are of the students and their families and providing those things like that you mentioned. For myself, I've said this quite often too, is just being mindful of circumstances. There are so many things. I mean, we think we know our students, we build the relationships and we understand, we have the conversations, but don't necessarily know all that they're dealing with at home. And I learned a lot more of that at the end of the last school year. And so it definitely has provided me with a lot of insight into this year. Although I wouldn't say that I feel that much more prepared as the year started. We just finished week 3 today, and it's exhausting and there is so much to do. And I know teachers everywhere are just, trying to keep up and worrying about, are we doing the right thing, the best thing, and feeling like the other day I thought, oh my gosh, I failed. I'm not doing a very good job. And giving yourself, we hear it often too, some grace and just really thinking about what is the most important that we do and not trying to do all of the things all at once, even though that's kind of how we're wired at this point. So I don't know.
Yeah. And that grace is important. Sometimes it's hard. Not like like you say, the frustrations that are going on behind the scenes. We don't know what our teachers are going through at home or what our families are going through. So, like I said, I've more than once in the last week and a half had to either deal with phone calls or emails from parents who were angry or upset. There's not enough, or there's too much, or my child needs more support than they're getting, and those things. And sometimes their frustration comes across as anger, and I always have to talk myself down before I call them or call them out in some cases to help them. You get this frantic 11 o'clock at night email that I try not to read, but I can't help myself sometimes. It was a horrible day tonight, and he had a meltdown today. That teacher needs to spend more time one-to-one with him. And so then. The next morning I reach out, I make the phone call and I want to tell them, yes, you have that problem, but there's 21 other kids that the teacher's trying to do this with too. And, it's going to be a flow. But like you said, I try then just bring myself back to give them grace, and they are, it's frustrating. And this is hard for these families. Some families are, single parent families that are just trying to make it work. Some have lost their job because of COVID. Some have both working parents and they have two or three little ones that are on computers in the other room, and it's not connecting and the Zoom's not working, and they're trying to take a business phone call, and that's hard. So like you say, we give ourselves grace, but also give grace to our families and help them and support them. I offered to bring ice cream over to one mom. I just said, hey, I'm coming over and bringing ice cream. And she goes, no, we're good. But seriously, like you could feel it coming through the phone. When I see them reach out through a snappy email or a badly thought out Facebook post, let's say. And again, I'd still support my teachers. So when I see those things, I call them because I just call them out right away. And I call the parents up and I say, why? The teacher said you haven't talked to her, so why? And they more often than not, when they have cooled off and think about it, there's a discussion and an apology and all those things, because again, it's hard and frustrating for them too. It really is for our parents. They are getting a deeper look into our classrooms, which is, in some ways, I think makes our teachers look better, because some parents are there, they're hearing all that's going on in the background and they're going like, wow, I didn't think of that, or I didn't see that. And they're only seeing it for their one kid, and there's still 22 other kids that need all that attention too. And so, in some ways, our connections with our families have grown since the pandemic. And I think I know that the families will be glad when it's time for them to all come back to our classrooms. But I think there's also a growing appreciation for our profession too. So I think that's it. In some ways, that's a good thing.
I completely agree. I love what you're saying, and I think it's so important. I've always felt like connection and relationships were always the foundation, and is what's going to take us through this time of just crazy, and to bring us back. That is something that will never change. And I think that for some educators who didn't understand how important it was, I think they're understanding it now even more. But just kudos to every single one of you guys. You guys are doing a phenomenal job. And it is draining. And something that you talked about, and Linnell, thank you so much for watching. Yes, I love her wonderful comments. Something that is really on my mind a lot for people in leadership positions, and honestly, we're all in leadership positions, is how you handle criticism right now. And you just nailed it. Like, we are all at this peak, so our emotions are always there. And can we step back? Can we address it in a different way? That's something that I'm learning too, because I run on that adrenaline rush. And so it is hard for me to step back and to breathe a little bit before I respond to others. And I love what you talked about. Like, our human nature is to check our email before we go to bed. We see that critical, just the parents not trying to be anything but true to advocating for her child. But at the same time, you see the greater need overall. And so this is something that it's across the board. This is something that everybody's dealing with, but how do we respond to criticism is so important right now. And if we don't think about that, then we have no idea what grace is for. It doesn't make any sense. But we definitely need an abundance of grace. And so I just want to offer this for anybody who's watching. Let's hear, like, what are the things working right now? We talk about the hard things. What are some of those little things that have made this worthwhile and have brought you some joy? I just hope some more people will respond. And y'all go ahead and respond too. What are the things that are bringing you joy right now?
Seeing my newer teachers taking that time to connect with kids, understand it. Like I said, we talked about relationships and connections, and they, like, that's why I hired them. I could tell, like I said, I knew that they had that in them. That in them. I have a teacher he's been teaching for about 2 or 3 years, but he's brand new to us. And, he'll come in and say, is it okay if I go over so-and-so's house? They're really having a hard time connecting. I'm like, yes, go. And then he comes back and he goes, that was so worthwhile. I think I'm going to go to all their houses. And I'm like, yeah, again, just do it safely and make sure you reach out and all the other things, because we're not here with them, So like seeing the heart that our teachers have for these kids and seeing their love for what they do. Like I said, I was having lunch. I shared this on Twitter, but I was having breakfast the other day with a friend of mine. He's been teaching for 35 years in the same classroom, 35 years, and he still loves it. He loves what he does, and he was talking to me about how he's streaming his live class. He's a high school teacher, how he's streaming his live class and all this stuff. And I started thinking about the can you imagine, like, we were just talking about it before we started to, like, and you talked about how we connect. Can you imagine, like, 15 years ago thinking about streaming your class, or 10 years ago, or when he started 35 years ago teaching and stream. And then I thought, but so I have all these teachers, they still stream, they're streaming the classes. Some of them have been in the classrooms 20 or 30 years, and they're streaming the classrooms, but they still reply all to those emails and again, so again, but think about how amazing that is, that they're able to teach online like this. And again, when we started in the spring, it was like, this is not what we signed up for, but we're going to make it work. And now, they're back. So it's what we signed up for. We knew this is how we were going to start. And it's working. And slowly but surely, like I said, I think we all look forward to that day when the students are back. But no matter what, the learning is happening. And that brings me joy. The other thing, besides Dr. Joy, I saw.
Yes.
She brings me joy too. But,
she brings us joy also.
Absolutely.
But the other thing that really brings me joy is like I said, when I get to check into those classes and see the smiles on their face, giggling during their snack time, or reading a story together and asking questions. But more important, like finding ways that they can connect too, and that the kids connecting to kids just always brings me joy, and that's the important thing. Those are the important things that we can do for our kids. They're going to be resilient, and they're going to do okay, but we just have to just kind of keep track of their social emotional needs, make sure we keep those things in check, and like I said, support the families too, really support them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amen. Preach. For real.
My favorite is the reply all email. It's true. I mean, I had, and it was years ago, but there was somebody that I knew that would send the email, and the email would come, and the body of the email was written in the subject line. So there was never anything in the actual email, but it was the whole way across. And I just kept saying, you have to put it, like, it's really hard to read it, and it's the whole subject line. So, but we're all learning. I mean, even it doesn't matter what level of tech you have and experience. It's not easy to teach online, even if you've been teaching online. And I can't imagine right now, like my school, it's distance. So the multiple computers I have and having the kids log in and seeing them. And what brings me joy is actually seeing their faces when they have the cameras on. What brought me joy the last couple of days is the fact that it wasn't me telling them they were muted. It was them saying, Ms. Both, you're muted. 5 times in the last, I mean, you would think that by now, of all people, I would make sure that I was unmuted, but I had 2 computers. And so one was muted, one wasn't. And I think at least 4 times today. So it's fun to laugh with them and see them. And that does bring me joy. I mean, it's better to be in person in the classroom and to have fun, but today was definitely one of those days where we're just laughing, having some fun at the end. I don't know if they had so much fun taking their first quiz of the year, but there was some fun involved, but we do the best we can. And today I just was on mute. The other really cool thing that I've noticed, again, as we're all getting better at this virtual / remote type learning, is to watch teachers talk themselves through the whole process. Okay, now I'm going to click on this and I'm going to unmute you, and okay, now I'm going to open this and share my screen, and because they're talking themselves through each step as they go through it, and it's really kind of, I didn't recognize it until I started stopping into every classroom, and you see the teacher go, oh, oops, wait, I forgot to click on this. I'm going to go back. Hold on just a minute, and so they're talking them through each step, and it's really fun as they learn, as we all get better at this, But it's just really fun to watch.
And speaking of that, like the language that our kids are picking up, mute was not necessarily a word that our kids were accustomed to learning, but now they know mute, they know submit, they know all of these very wonderful words, and thank you, because it's what is happening right now. So our kids' vocabulary is definitely increasing. I love that.
I like to say, raise your virtual hand. Well, I'll say, raise your hand. They raise their hand. And with a bunch of them on the screen, I can't necessarily see it. But then I say, okay, your virtual hand, raise your virtual hand. So yeah, it's, I'm trying not to say the word interesting because I said that word so much. Indifferent and definitely. But yeah, it's something.
The different platform. I mean, just last March, I could do a Google Meet, or I could do a Skype, or I could do a thing. I stayed away from the web-based platforms because it wasn't really anything I needed to do. Now it's like we have all this stuff. It's readily available, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So today, before I got online with y'all, I actually got to read my story with an Anchorage, a class in Anchorage, fifth graders. And so I get to watch teachers as they, bring in their class, and about half of them had their camera on and half of them didn't. And it was just a lovely time with them. But I was so amazed how well they can navigate the chat. So a lot of them, they really had, their ideas, and they wanted to tell me the books they were writing about. They wanted to tell me what they were reading. And when I was starting discussion with them after the story was over, they felt really kind of probably shy because they didn't know me very well. And so the more that we got into this, the chat feature was just blowing up. And it was just amazing to see how that they were sharing with me and all the things they were sharing with me. And then, of course, some were also talking. And I don't know, I love, like, every single time I get to visit classrooms and I watch teachers, the thing that stands out to me the most is the relationship that they have with their students and the comfort level. And sometimes it does take a little bit of time for them to feel comfortable with me also. And sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes kids are just like ready to go. They're just like, new person, let's talk, But I've just been so amazed by the teachers that I get to see and how they talk with their class, and the way that they lead, and the way that the students lead, the discussion that they have, even as young people. We cannot discount these young people. They have so much to say, and they're learning how to type, and they're just sharing everything. They're writers and they're readers, and it's been amazing. That brought me so much joy. And actually today was the first time I got to read a story with Alaskan kids. So that was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I wanted to share that. It was
Yeah, that's good.
But yeah, thanks.
Like I said, I mean, it brings me joy to be back in school. Like after the summer of, like I said, the plans that didn't ever happen, or the multiple schedules that I made and that we never used, and all the other things. So yeah, I feel blessed to be able to do what I do every day. I'm very, very lucky. I have amazing teachers who are, yesterday I have a pair of teachers that they work together in a in-class support classroom, and there's a kid in one of the learning centers across town who is in their class, but there's not a lot of support there for him. I mean, he's there and he's kind of in and out, and they just went and taught their class from over there yesterday because they we knew that he was struggling, so they just went over there, pulled him aside, and taught the rest of the class with front to front. And he's like, "Can you come back tomorrow?" And they're like, "Well, we're not really supposed to be doing this every day, but soon you'll be in class soon. So, but at least that." And it's a student they had never met before, so they had a chance to spend time with them and connect that way. So, like I said, it's amazing what educators across the world are doing these days.
It is.
And like you said, those connections are the key thing. It really are the relationships piece.
Yeah. I mean, the teachers are amazing. Like, it brings me so much joy to be able to virtually join classes and to watch it. And you can't fake that. You can't fake the wonderful, the way that they talk with each other or the comfort that they feel. I mean, everybody who's watching an education, you guys are amazing. I love you. Keep on rocking. What you're doing matters.
Speaking of rocking, there's good music in. No, I'm just kidding. trying to get Melody to go to Nashville. That's all I ever want to talk about.
Oh, okay.
I want to go to Vegas. Like, I'm like, forget
joy.
Nashville. I can't wait to go back to Vegas. I'm trying to get back to freaking Vegas. But yeah, where do you want to go? If you could go anywhere and everything was safe, where would you want to go?
Wow.
Nothing like being put on the spot.
Well, I mean, actually, my son lives in Nashville, so
there you go.
I like that. If everything was safe, I definitely enjoy the beach, so I would go to Hawaii or something like that. I don't really have a need to go to any of those places. I just want to. I'm good. Like when social distancing became a thing, I was like, yeah, I'm the best at this. But but every once in a while there's a need to go, like I said, to go out and see people. And so yeah, like a conference, I would enjoy going to a conference and just kind of getting back in the swing of that if it was safe, if it was safe, wherever that might be. I enjoyed traveling all over last summer, and I didn't get to do any of that this year. So
I know. Yeah, I do miss the conferences. That's the place where, I mean, I'd like to go because of the content, but just because so many of my friends are coming into that, and you have something to look forward to. So I've missed out on that. Melody laughs at me, but
no, it's not. I agree. Like, we spend all this money to go, and we make our presentations, but really the reason that we're there is to see our friends.
Well, yeah, it's the networking and to be in that space. So yeah.
But you, like you, I mean, again, for me, when you're presenting for a room of 15 people or 500 people, like it's hard to get that energy back through the screen. Like,
right.
if I'm standing up and talking to people, and that you can just feel it when they're kind of hearing you, and kind of getting it, and you feel that energy come back. And then as Rachelle said, the discussions between and after, and at dinner and all those other things, not always about education, but often you're still learning. You're still learning and like making those deeper connections that could last forever and ever,
Definitely. Yeah. For sure. Yes. Well, we are getting close to actually, we've already gone over our 30 minutes because we had such a great discussion. So I want to thank everybody who's tuned in, wherever you're tuning in, whether it's on Facebook or Twitter. Jay, it was so nice to meet you, and I'm so grateful that you took some time and spent with us and talked about what you're experiencing in your part of the world. And I hope that you have a great weekend. And Rachelle, I'll let you have our last words.
Since when? I don't want to have the last words, but I do have to say, if anybody is not following Jay, follow Jay, and also check out his book. And Melody knows I don't ever plant things. I do have books, and Jay actually knows this too, because I said I had copies. So I didn't just plant that there; it's been there because it's got tabs. Got to put it back in the spot. Well, I'll put it back later. But anyway.
No, hold it up. Jay, tell us a little bit about your book, because I didn't tell you to do that at the beginning. Tell us a little bit about your book before we go.
So again, it came out in the spring of 2018. Lead with Culture, What Really Matters in your school, in our schools. Dave Burgess Publishing, and it's part of the Lead Like a Pirate series of leadership books. Really, it's about building school culture, and I've over the past couple of years, I got a couple more chapters in me now. I would add to it, But this pandemic thing is probably is a book in itself for some people. So, Rachelle, you got like 6 of them in you, so that's
Yeah, but I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like another connection with Dave Burgess and his company and his wife Shelley. I feel blessed to have made those connections through the online communities, and then through conferences and things like that, and nothing but love for the whole Lead Like a Pirate and Teach Like a Pirate families. Really, I've been very blessed
Yes.
to do that.
Yeah.
So
they are all good people, and we have lots of friends who are DBC. Even though we're EduMatch, we're still DBC. Like, we're together.
And just so you know, I love EduMatch. And
yes.
Sarah, I love Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard. What can you not love about Dr. Sarah? She's just an amazing person.
I met her, I think, well before I met anybody else years ago. And yeah, she's amazing. So, And
Barbara says, "Yay, Jay! What a beautiful role model for kindness and connection." So thanks, Barbara.
Absolutely.
That's totally true.
So quick story, Barbara Gruner. That's Barbara Gruner. So I'm at, I forget what year it was. I was at a it was a national character ed fund, and I had connected to Barbara basically through Twitter. I knew who she was and things like that. And it's like 8:30 in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning. She's the first keynote at this national conference on character ed. I forget what the name of it was. And this woman gets up on stage in a ball gown, in a ball gown and a crown. And it was Barbara Gruner. So thank you, Barbara, for reaching. And her keynote was awesome. It was amazing that morning. And it got us all riled up and going. And it was, I actually saw her in the lobby and I didn't recognize her at the time that I knew who she was. I had gone out running like real early in the morning, and I'm coming into the lobby around 6 o'clock in the morning. There's this woman in this ball gown, and I'm thinking like, what the heck is that? And that was Barbara, and she's amazing. She's an amazing, kind soul. So.
She absolutely is. Yep.
She says that was Halloween 2014.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
All right.
Well,
thanks,
thank you
Jay.
again. Yes, thank you. Everybody, we'll see you on Monday. Have a great weekend. Take care of yourself. We love you. What you're doing matters, but you matter too, so make yourself a priority. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye. You're amazing. Thank you all.
Thank
you, Jay.